Woohoo! Happy Friday and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Wow. It's the day of love. See, I got the love shirt on. Oh, with all the glasses. Don't need those. Yeah, so we got a pretty good group on here today. So every Friday, Scott, we kind of come together with all the new nutritional people that we have on our team. The majority of the folks on here are new S3 operators. A few have had them for a while in the past. Some have had them for more than 10 years. But for the most part, this is a fairly new group of folks to the nutraceutical side of our company. So they're kind of jazzed that we even have all of this fun stuff over here on this side. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited, you guys. I just got to tell you, Scott Bennett has been somebody that I have kind of worshipped on the new skin side of things. You guys know when I started 15 years ago, it was all about me getting that scanner, me being able to get nutrition into the kids with autism and the things that I was doing with that in research. And so I saw people like Scott, who has been in the business like 22 years or something now, and he's like been a team elite for more than 20 years. So he's pretty phenomenal guy with our company, knows everything about this. He's put in more devices, you guys, in doctors' offices, clinics, and wellness practitioner kind of offices than anyone else in the company. So I thought would be a great person for us to visit with today, pick his brain, have him dump out some good information for us and anything that might help inspire you guys. But Scott's married, got 6 kids, lives in Las Vegas, y'all. He's living it up too out there.
Well, I'm in Anaheim today. We got my daughter's dance competition this weekend. So I have until I was told this morning I have until about 10:45, and then I've got to run because she has her solo performance that I gotta be at. But
Yeah.
one of those things. I've realized every call I've scheduled conflicts with her performances so far this morning and tomorrow.
My goodness.
So, but if any of you guys have kids with dance competitions, you understand, kind of it's different for me, right? I mean, we've got it's very very different ball game. I'm more used to, basketball or football or mountain biking or some other competition. But it's good. Luckily she can do her own makeup and get herself ready.
Dance Dad Deluxe.
Yeah, I am here to buy food and make sure she gets where she needs to be. And that's about it. Yeah. So, well, I appreciate the intro. It makes me laugh, at times. I mean, it's been quite a run. It's an incredible company. And so I'm glad to be part of it, and to have, kind of have a small part of it. But for me, really, it's always just been about, getting involved because I want to build the business, right? And I wanted to build a business that
On the
created and
picture. I
generated
don't know.
some lifestyle,
This is the guy she said.
difference for lifestyle for me. And then we go from there. Oh, you're fine. It's okay. Um, but yeah, so I guess Kim, why don't we start with some questions? I feel like that because everybody on here's, maybe coming from a different level, and different background and, different experience with the scanner. I feel like it helps the conversation if we start with some questions and kind of go from there. Otherwise, you're just going to hear me talk and ramble and that's
Yeah.
not as beneficial.
Well, and you're right about that. I got a couple of team elites on here right now, and a
That's awesome.
platinum team elites on to know they're amazing, and some of their downlines are on here. And so, as we're moving into the scanner era with what's coming, I'm going to just turn it over to you guys because I know a lot of you have specific questions, and I want you guys to be able to get what's on your heart and head right now answered by him today. So just unmute yourself and go.
Since he's 8, I'm sorry, I'm wondering. We're excited to hear from you. And one of my first questions that came to mind is how are you teaching duplication from a standpoint of kind of walking people through talking points to help create the realization of the need and get them through to that close?
Okay, so I guess I mean, there's two different sides of it, right? When you can either be utilizing the scanner or talking about the scanner technology to acquire a customer or to acquire a distributor,
True.
or a brand affiliate. And so those are two different things. I feel like my business has always been based upon subscriptions. And
Mhm.
it's how do I acquire the most amount of subscriptions, and utilize, and I feel like we utilize the scanner technology that's what allows us to do that, right? That's what really sets us apart. And so I always lead with the scanner. But then it's also understanding, okay, well, why is the scanner important? Why are antioxidants important? What am I getting, from that, or why do I even care about this number? And so we talk about that, and how that's the basis of your immune system. It's the foundational level, and really kind of, simplify that out. Um, and then once you give them their score, I know going into it, 95% of the people that I scan are going to be deficient. And I mean, that's played out. We got 26 million scans now. That's just how it works, right? 95% of the people we scan are going to be under 50,000. Um, I would say over 80% of those are going to be under 30. Um, and so I tell them ahead of time, when I scan them, I give them a letter grade. I say, okay, so an A or an optimal score is a 50,000 or above. So it's this blue zone and purple zone. That's considered an A. And then 40 to 50 is a B, 30 to 40 is a C, 20 to 30 is a D, and below 20,000 is an F. And I give them that letter grade because everybody understands the letter grade. And so, but I make sure to give them that before they get their score, so that they know I'm not judging them. I'm just telling them this is where it's at. I have one mistake that I think a lot of people that I've definitely made in the past is saying this is where the average is, right? Because the average American is going to scan 25 to 30,000. And so a lot of times, if you're scanning somebody and they scan average, they're going to say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm average. I'm okay." It's like, no, that's a D. Like that's a terrible score. It's not good. So I wouldn't say, "Hey, this is, something that I would do," right? I wouldn't say, okay, well, this is where the average American's at. That usually tends to come up, later when they say, well, where do most people scan? But, I always follow that with, but if there's one thing you don't want to be average at in America, it's health. Like that's not where you want to be. Um, and then it transitions right into that. Now, I will say the easiest way to put somebody on product, and put them on there is your My Site page. Um, and that, but at the same time, a number of you may have to switch kind of how your My Site page is set up. I don't know if you use those currently, with selling Lumi spas and things like that, but I mean, mine's all just nutrition so that I can send anybody to that and they can get on that product and, and walk through that, and be attached, to that. So, Suzanne, I don't know if that answers your question or, part of your question, or if you got follow up from that, but I mean, that's how I scan somebody.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really helpful because there's a psychology behind it. So, kind of helping to prepare them ahead of time without judgment is really good too. And I like what you said about who wants to be average with their health.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just everybody. The other thing that will pop up a lot, when you're scanning somebody, as soon as you tell them what this is going to say, inevitably they will say, "Oh, well, I'm going to scan low. I had a rough weekend," or, or I haven't done well the last, week or something, or I've been sick or something like that. And I always just reassure them and say, "Look, that has very little bearing on your score." You know, we're measuring the last 4 to 16 weeks of who you are. And so this isn't about, what you ate, this last weekend, or whether or not you had a drink or went to a party or whatever the case, none of that matters. It's what you have done over a collective period of time. And so that's why it's, so much more accurate.
Yes. Well, thank you for that insight. That's helpful.
No, of course.
So, Melissa, I know that you had a lot of pressing questions. Could you kind of tell Scott a little bit about who you are, what you guys got going on? And she's a brand new operator out of Kentucky, Scott, and her husband works in a lot of hospital settings. And so she's come with a lot of firepower, and I just want her to kind of be heard here if she has a chance.
Yeah, of course. Hi,
Did you-
Melissa. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Did you
good.
say firepower? You're so sweet. Anyway, yeah, like she said, I'm a registered dental hygienist. I've been out of that work for about 3 years, other than just doing a little temporary stuff here and there. But my husband's a registered nurse, and both of us have had our careers 30 years. So we've been doing this a little while and have, lots of background in that.
Mhm.
And he's actually in home health, and he's been that way since before he went to nursing school. And so he sees a variety, and he's gone from elderly aging, that was the whole home health setup 35 years ago, to now you see a lot more therapy induced, and you see a lot more generally healthy people that are just needing rehab kind of situations. Still, they still have the elderly and everything too.
Yeah.
But aside from all of that, we're looking at getting the word out in doctors' offices. And he works in a different town than where we're at. He's about 60 miles from where we live. And so we're looking at trying to hook up both of these areas with scanners. And your introduction being that you've had the most success getting this into doctors' offices, are you finding the approach now easier? Obviously, with your background, you haven't done this for so long, but is it easier to approach your doctors? Is it easier to approach those facilities getting this in their hands because of where we're at as a society, and everybody's so concerned with their health and measuring their health, not just disease?
Yeah. Post pandemic, it definitely has gotten easier.
Okay.
And I always say that if there was anything good that came from the pandemic, it was that it woke up the masses of people. Pre-pandemic, most people thought, as long as I have good insurance, my doctor will take care of me. And the pandemic proved that that's not the case always. And that plays out in the numbers. That plays out in the economy, right? I mean, the numbers pre-pandemic 2019, it was $35 billion a year being spent on nutritional supplementation in the United States. Last year it was 60 billion. So that's how much it's shifted, in 5 years. At the same time, doctors have been squeezed hard. They are, at the end of the day, they're a small business owner. They don't have any lobbying power. And so the insurance companies, the hospitals, those guys are the ones gobbling everything up. And the private practice doctors are suffering. Most of them, depending on what part of the country they were in, they had to close their offices for anywhere between 6 weeks and a year, a few years ago. And most people think, well, then they should be fine. The average family care doctor makes less than a plumber, guys, in this country. The average family care doctor will make between 120 and $150,000 a year. Same with a plumber, but the plumber doesn't have 8 years of education and student debt loans and everything coming out to do that. So now that's not the case with everybody, but even orthopedic surgeons 6 years ago, they wouldn't give me the time of day, and now they do. And the reason is because they took it really shifted January 23. I don't know if you guys remember, but we're still on the heels of coming out of the pandemic. We got double-digit inflation, and Medicare cut their pay by 10%. And it was just like they hadn't cut it in a couple years. Now they've cut their pay every year since the 80s. So they're used to that. It's always a 3 to 5% deduction. But coming out of everything, that it took, it it's it just kind of rocked them, right? It just made them look at it and say, this doesn't work anymore. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the average orthopedic rep that's selling them the screws and is in the surgery with the doctor makes more on that surgery than the doctor does now, which is a joke. And they know it's a joke, and so they're now open to looking at, options. So they're more open to adding cash. Every doctor, to be honest, is more open to adding cash revenue to their practice than ever before. Um, but their patients are asking them more than ever. It doesn't matter what discipline of doctor, when a patient walks into a doctor's office, they say, should I be taking a supplement? Which one should I be taking? What do you recommend? And most of the time doctors are saying, yeah, just take this or that, because that just doesn't make any sense. Like, when it comes down to it, I go to my doctor because I want them to tell me everything I need to know about my body. And then when it comes to nutrition, they say, well, go to Walmart and that person will tell you. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Go to GNC and the 18-year-old will tell you what's on sale and what you should be taking. I mean, come on. But they're not willing to put their name and their reputation behind something that they don't know if it works. So do not lead with the product. Do not lead with the company. Lead with the scanner. Yeah, that's the key. It's all about the scanner because that's what we have that no one else has. That's what differentiates us. There's over 110 published peer-reviewed clinicals on the device that prove that it's more accurate and reliable than blood serum testing. There's a 10-year clinical by Yale where they published that it was the best way to measure fruit and vegetable intake in the human body non-invasively, and that it was the best way to affect behavioral change. Those are two of the hardest things for a doctor. They have no other way of measuring the nutrition values of their patient, and they know that if their patient just made one or two behavioral changes, that it would affect their health dramatically. And yet they can't get them to make those changes because they just keep talking to them until they're blue in the face. But Yale said if you give them their number, that's the best way to do it. So it's little things like that that are crucial.
Well, and that makes so much sense because when you want an opinion on anything, you're going to go to the professional to ask them, right? I mean, you don't want the 18-year-old at GNC telling you the thing that's on sale. And that's why
But the doctors, until you tell that to the doctors, they don't think about it like that. They don't think about how backwards that is until you say, "Hey, this is backwards." And sometimes what I've learned is sometimes you can't. So talking to doctors is interesting. Okay, it is not. If you do not have personal contacts into doctors, I don't recommend it. Um, I think there are far easier ways to do it. And when I talk to doctors, it's less about doctors and more about a location, right? Med spas, physical therapists, chiropractors, orthopedics, eye doctors, podiatry, it doesn't really matter. They're all the same. It's a location. Who's going to get the foot traffic? Because my goal is how do I get the most customers, right? And us on this line, I know for me personally, you give me a scanner, you give me 22 years to almost 23 years in the company, I can get 20, 30 customers on product that stay on product, right? Which is good. I mean, I signed up a doctor in January. Yesterday he was at 40 or is it 59 on subscription. Like that's the difference. Every single day he puts 1 to 3 people on subscription. And that was why I went after healthcare professionals. Having said that, if you don't have connections with them, don't do it. There are easier ways to get it out there, and I didn't. Guys, I have sponsored myself personally 2 doctors in 23 years. What I did was when I started, I was 22 years old and I was going to college full time. There wasn't a doctor out there that wanted to listen to anything I had to say. I talked to my parents' friends and the best business people that I knew. Like that's who that my target market was 35 and up, and the most successful entrepreneurs I could think of. And that was who I talked to. I mean, the very first meeting I had with Nathan Ricks was a guy who's a billionaire. I mean that because that was, he owned Nordic Track and in Westlow and Icon and all these other nutrition companies, but that was who I was targeting. And then but the message was I'm going to get in this in all these different locations. And just so happened that a lot of these other people, they had the connections into these other locations. You start asking and you'll figure it out. You'll find it real fast. I mean, that's what networking is, right? The ability to just get in anywhere you want by just talking to people, and figuring that out.
Do you find it when you're talking about locations, like being a dental hygienist and I have the connection with all of our dentists locally, do you have a lot of dentists who respond in that arena? Is that maybe
So
valuable?
it 100% depends on the dentist, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Which ones are in it to clean your teeth, fix it, get out, and which ones want to talk about the oral systemic connection, and that's the key. Are they in it for the oral systemic connection? Is this the type of doctor that when he sees periodontal disease, does he call the patient's cardiologist and talk to him? Because there are dentists that do that, you know, but it's becoming more and more. But in the past, it's been pretty rare, but that's the key. And Melissa, those dentists. Those are the ones you talk to, you know, because they're the ones that will care. If it's your regular just churn and burn, dentist, yeah, don't waste your time.
Wow, that was some powerful information. Wow, thanks a lot, Scott. Is there anybody else that has some question? I know Kim Shuck, you had a few. Kim Shuck is another Team Elite on the call tonight or today. Golly, today.
It's still morning.
Hey, for you in Anaheim, of course. Yeah.
Hi, Scott. Yes, my background's dental hygiene, and I also used to do lunch and learns for Waterpick for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty big territory and a lot of relationships with the dentists, and I know exactly the type you're talking about, like the ones who will care and not care. So do you find, I guess, when basically it starts with that relationship and then talking with those ones, the other ones just kind of, like you said, I wouldn't go there. But do you feel like nowadays, with people just kind of having their eyes more open to their health and decision making and stuff, do you feel like there's a lot of moms and families that are more interested in just getting on the products? And you said,
I scanned, so I had a cousin of mine who's, like I said, I've been doing this longer than I've been married, right? And so this is my wife's cousin, and and her aunt, she's been on product for quite a while, but her son just moved from Boston back to Vegas, and he's really successful private equity guy, and and they started calling me. I didn't even call them. I didn't even talk to them about it, and he called me and said, hey, I know my mom's on products and she really loves her vitamins. I need to get vitamins from you. I need to talk to you. And I was like, well, I'd love to come scan you guys, and it was like, well, what's that? And we started talking, and I ended up going to their house this last Monday, and I spent hour and a half scanning, all of their kids, husband and wife, and talking to them about everything. And these guys what you will find is the amount of research that most people want to do in this has changed. Like they wanted, like he actually wanted, he's the first person. Now he's a little bit different. He's the first person that's ever asked me for all those 110 clinicals, from, that I usually only share with doctors. He's the only consumer that's ever asked him, but he wanted to read them. He wanted the clinicals on youth. He wanted, all the background research and, all that kind of stuff. Like he was texting me last night. They haven't bought anything yet, but they've been doing all their research into all of our products, trying to figure out what's best for their family this whole week. Like yes, you really want to make an impact. Yeah, scan a mom, but if you want to impact the mom, scan her kids.
Oh, for
You,
sure.
you scan those kids and all of a sudden mom's looking at it totally differently. And when my cousin, when I scanned her, she was like, okay. And then I scanned her kids and they were low. It was like, oh crap, I thought we were doing good, and it was even like embarrassed, like, are you
Yeah.
judging me like we're unhealthy? And and everything. I'm like,
It's like
no,
a reflection of them as
this
a
is just
parent
how it is.
almost. Like,
Yeah.
and every
Yeah.
parent wants to do better for their kids. And even having three of my own, it's like, just tell me what I got to buy to make them better, And
Yeah.
nobody wants sick kids either. So I totally get that. I'm a homeschool mom too. So I have a very large homeschool community and co-op. And
Yeah.
I don't have my scanner right now. I'm definitely like wanting to get one, and I've considered bringing it to our co-op and just scanning all the families there. And
There's my one of the biggest leaders, Stephen Moore. He does homeschool as well, and I think for the last few years he's scanned, a couple times a year he'll scan the entire co-op.
yeah, and our community is very holistic too, and they all
Yeah.
like hate going to doctors and everything. So
It's almost like part and parcel, right? If you homeschool your kids, you're holistic, you're conservative, you're like it's kind of all it's the same little bubble,
yes,
So
it is.
it's a great idea,
Do,
and
when it comes
it's
to
something that interests me.
subscriptions, do you
Yeah,
do like retail with everybody? Do a lot
I've
of
never
member?
retailed product in
Okay,
23 years. I haven't retailed a single product in 23 years.
okay,
So
that
it's
was
a
my next question.
totally different paradigm, but particularly on nutrition, it's too expensive.
Right, and that's
Get them the cheapest possible price and tell them you're getting them the cheapest possible price because they will look it up on Amazon and
right.
they'll find Life Back on Amazon, but it's 10% above retail. So it's like go through me and you're going to save 40 to 50%,
And
and then you go
once you
that way.
scan somebody, like let's say you scan a whole family, like once that you educate them and they all know their scores and everything, do a lot of them jump in right then and there, or is it like, okay, I'll,
Really
check
depends.
back in with them, then they sign up for a subscription? Like, how does it normally go for you with the flow of like closing the sale? Is it right away, or is it usually
So
within
if
days?
it's going to depend on how I know this person, like my family, I'm never going to push my family, right? And so I told him, I said, look, I'm going to scan you. Then I'm going to tell you what products I would recommend based upon your scores and our conversation. Then I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to leave and send you a link to a website and you can decide what you want to do.
Okay.
Like total hands off, right? If I'm at a, homeschool collective, yeah, I'm scanning everybody. I'm signing them up right then. This is your score, based upon your score, I recommend you get on this product. Here's a link for that product. Go to my website, buy it, and you're going to get a money back guarantee. In 60 days, your score goes up or you get all your money back. Like I just rely heavily on that. Um, you know, and so because the goal is, yeah, I'm going to build my business. I'm going to move this forward, but there's a way to do it without being pushy, and
Right.
without ruining any relationships.
Right.
That really comes back to the score. If you make it about your product, then you're pushy. If you make it about increasing their score and guaranteeing that this will work to increase their score or they get their money back, then you won't ever ruin any relationship. Now the key is when they do get on product, you've got to schedule that rescan in 60 days.
Okay. All right, that's really helpful.
Yeah,
Thank
Melissa,
you.
Melissa, you asked, yeah, the money back guarantees at 60 days, and then they can you can rescan them every 30 days, and uh by rescanning them every 30 days, you're going to get paid for it. You get paid $8 every time you scan someone that gets on subscription. And then every time you rescan someone, there's an $8 bonus as well attached to it. But that to get that, you have to attach the 16-digit scan card number to their subscription, which is kind of a pain. But
Oh, I have one more question.
yeah.
When it comes to kids, I feel like we don't have a lot of products for kids, but when it
We have,
comes to
we have
kids,
great products for kids. So first off, you got Junglemals.
we have Junglemals,
Junglemals G3,
G3.
both are scanner certified. Both are
Okay.
guaranteed to increase your score. And then personally, I mean, my 9-year-old takes Life Pack.
Right.
He
Okay.
takes it
That's what
once a
I'm
day.
wondering. Like, do you do Life Pack with kids? Okay.
All of my kids take Life Pack. My teenagers take it twice a day. My 9-year-old takes it once a day. It's really based on weight more than anything else. Once they weigh about 120 pounds, 110 pounds, they can take it twice a day. Like their body's big enough for it.
Do your kids swallow pills? 'Cause
Mine
won't.
my youngest, my 7-year-old, he just drinks a ton of G3. I mean, we go through a bottle of G3 almost every day, every other day. I mean, every day that I put one in the fridge, it's gone. And so, we go through a lot of G3. I will also tell you guys, I mean, what you will notice is when you get your family score over 50,000, you get your score or your family, your kids, once you get over 50,000, things start to change. You will not get sick as often. I think, I mean, I've had in 23 years, I've had two or three sinus infections. I used to get 2 a year that totally knocked me out. Um, I used to have a lot of cavities. I've had 2 in 23 years. Like it's little things like that that you start to notice. You will sleep better. You'll have better energy. You won't be reaching at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a coffee. Like things like that start to shift. And that becomes a really big difference. But when you go back to kids, the average kid, and believe it or not, the average kid in this country scans the same place as someone who smokes a pack a day.
Mm.
That's the average.
Wow.
So
That's
I mean
crazy.
that's just normal, but think about it. When you're in high school or you have teenagers, I mean, when I send my kids to school, it's like their first time, like they've got enough freedom, they've got money in their pocket, they go eat whatever they want to eat, which tends to be pizza and soda, and when they're out with their friends, or Cane's or Chick-fil-A or something like that, right? That's where they want to go. They want to go hang out, they're gonna eat, and they don't eat the right stuff. And so you gotta supplement the difference. There's just no other way to do it with teenagers.
Right.
So I have one more question. Sorry.
No,
Do
go
you
ahead.
build majority of your business off social media then, it sounds like? Or do you do a lot of it through
As
connecting online and then setting appointments up offline?
I don't know if I mean, you guys know the MBSB group that we started this last summer. It's like the men's social media group
Mm.
started. That was when I got an Instagram account about 6 months ago.
Okay. I looked at your
Yeah.
Facebook and there's like nothing public, so I couldn't creep on you.
Well, I mean, it's even like, look, I mean, I think I have about 50 to 100 people that have asked to be friends. I don't even look at
I
it.
just followed you, but I was just looking like to see if you promote stuff on there and I didn't see
If you
anything public.
followed me, I don't think I've ever posted on Facebook. I mean, I got a Facebook account so that I could post in our team's, group, and that was it. Like that's why I got it.
So good
Yeah.
old fashioned network marketing, like Suzanne said.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a LinkedIn account. I got a lot of I do use LinkedIn. But LinkedIn and Strava, those is really the only social media that I use.
All right. Thank you for all that.
No, no problem.
Wow, that was fantastic, Kim. Woo! Well, I know you have to run to the daughter's dance, and I don't want you to be late because that's not good as a dance dad to be late. So, one last thing, I would like you to give us your thoughts, comments, anything you got on the new device coming, on the new Prism.
It's gonna be amazing. I mean, it's hard to put into work. We've been working on this a very long time, right? And we've been pushing on it for a decade. So to see it come to fruition is quite amazing. It's a whole lot of fun. To see the innovations that they made, they're better than anything I ever imagined or dreamt would happen, when it comes down to it. And it changes the whole ball game. It changes the entire dichotomy of what we're doing because the cost structure is so different. To have a scanner right now, you got to be a brand rep, and then and then the lease, or the rental agreement's $140 a month. This new one you'll buy for $300 to $400. I mean, that's a different, that is a different ball game.
Yep.
So
It's gonna be fun.
it is gonna be fun. We will have millions of these things out there, that's for sure. So I'm incredibly excited about it, and just trying to move as fast as we can to get in front of the wave that I know is coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's essentially what we're doing here on our team as well. And we're just extremely grateful that you took some time out for us today. I've known you for a long time, but just never really got to know you. You and I've been around for, I don't know, I've been here 15 years. So I know I've learned so much from you.
Bumped paths quite a bit.
I know, but we've never really had time to sit down and like really get to know each other. So this was great. And I appreciate you stopping and doing this for us. And yeah.
Scott, thank you so much for your comments. Those were so valuable. I really appreciated that. And can you elaborate a little bit more about that group that you mentioned, the MBSB?
Oh, it's just it's the men's social media group that we started with Ryan. So we do a call. There's an Instagram page that's just called MBSB and then also one that's MBSB Life. But we do a call every Friday morning to talk about, the business, but to talk about, personal development. And the idea honestly came mostly from social media groups, to try to get their husbands more involved,
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea of where it's at. So we did a call this morning from, 8 to 9 Pacific, and we do that every Friday morning.
And is that open to?
It's open to anybody. Yeah,
Okay, so
any guys. I know I mean,
okay,
my
good.
extent of knowledge of this. I know how to get on the Zoom link. But yeah, I know they patrol, like, the idea is, MBSB stands for Mind, Body, Spirit, Business, and so it's just trying to become, build a culture around becoming better men, better husbands, better fathers, personal development, coupled with doing this business.
That's fantastic. Well, I think we heard a little bit about that in Whistler. I think Ryan and some of the men that were there.
That was the first time we did a kind of a big hike one morning,
Yes, and a cold plunge.
Well, it didn't end up being that cold. The lake was pretty nice, but ended up swimming in it more than anything.
Oh, wow. Well, this has just been amazing. And you guys, if your husbands are interested in joining in with some of the men in the company and other wives' husbands, then I think we should look into that and plug our men in.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can have them join the group on Instagram at MBSB, and they post the link every Saturday morning for it. I'll hold on one sec. I'll just drop it in this chat too, so you guys have it.
Okay. Would one of you take it from the chat and go put it in our S3 group?
Yeah. So that's the link for every Friday morning at Let me make sure I can give you the right time. Yeah, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Pacific.
8 a.m. Pacific. So that's 10 a.m. Texas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wow. Anything else,
Good.
anybody, before we have to cut him loose?
Thank you.
so much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Kim.
Yes,
This has been
thanks, guys.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Happy to help. All right. We'll see you guys. Have a great day. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.